I'm Shoko from Smart Education, and we are a kids app developer located in Tokyo, Japan. And this morning, I would love to share with you what we are doing in preschools, not in elementary school or schools above that, to put IT into their school curriculums. So briefly, let me introduce you about our company. Smart Education, as I mentioned, we're located in Tokyo, Japan. We have the #1 share on both the App Store and Google Play with over 22 million downloads. Calculation-wise, that means 7 out of 10 moms that has a smartphone has at least one of our apps in their devices. So we're pretty well known. We've been in this business for 6 years. At first, we created our own apps with our IPs, original IPs. But this past 3-4 years, we've been lucky enough to acquire major IPs that's very popular among school kids in Japan. And this really boosts our revenue and downloads. And through this business, we realize that kids love to play with apps, and if we add a hint of educational content in it, it sells very well. And it can sharpen up and stimulate kids' willingness to study. So knowing this, let's kind of think in reverse and look into what the future would be in the year 2035. The reason I mentioned 2035, this is the year when present preschool kids will just start their careers in business. The change is so dramatic right now, so nobody really knows what we're doing in that time, in 18 years. But what we know in Japan, one would be the population decrease, 10 million. And the population of over 65 would be 1 in 3. Now that's heavy for kids. And internet penetration rate, of course, 100%. But that's about all we can say. And here comes our dilemma. We have, as I said, we have a lot of we have a lot of great apps in our hands, and we know apps can stimulate preschoolers to learn. And also, we know the problems that Japan has. And to solve these problems, IT would be a very strong means. But knowing all this, preschool education in Japan hasn't changed for this, surprisingly, 70 years. So we know all of this, but we still couldn't change kids' education. But the bigger the problem, the better the opportunity. So we thought, okay, let's run some experiments. And so we got out of our office and went into preschools. What we did first was we packaged all our apps, bought 50 iPads, put our apps in there, and handed to 10 preschools, 5 devices each, and did a little test. Results were, kids, of course, loved it. They really got into it. On the other side, the teachers' reactions was not good. They thought they loved to see their kids having fun, but they didn't know how to use apps in their lessons, in their curriculums. I think this is why this happened, because school teachers framed their curriculum too tightly for this past 70 years. They never even had the sense of changing it. So we kind of went in there and broke down all the problems, the missing parts and skills kids need by the year 2035, and reconstructed this idea and made a curriculum out of it, which was fun for the kids, had educational content in it, and also very usable for the teachers. And this is the product we came out with. It's called Kids. It's similar to Kids, but we put the letter IT in between kids. And the whole concept is having kids learn the 21st century style ICT curriculum. Now, this seems to be a big word, but it's common, I think, in the Western world. So what would be the three big components for kids to learn? The conventional education would be reading and writing and mathematics. Those educations enforce kids to be correct. But in kids, it's totally different. First of all, we want kids to be creative. We want them to come up with new ideas. The other one would be teamwork. As I said, the population is decreasing, so the kids needs to be multitasking more than ever and work with people that they've never met before. And on the bottom, using IT naturally. This would be the three big components we wanted to learn, kids to learn in kids. Now, what does this curriculum look like? At first, we had almost 80 apps because we thought the more the merrier. Teachers didn't like it. So we segmented into 10 apps and ran 30 curriculums on top of that, mainly focusing on creativity, the other one, teamwork, and some would be combining those two assets. Let me introduce you to what the curriculum looks like. For instance, for the creativity, we call it the 3D origami. There's other curriculums too, but just to let you know. So the conventional education told kids to be accurate and do what the teacher tells them and finish your work on time. But in kids, we don't force them that. We tell them to be different and praise yourself and your friends as much as you can. So this 3D origami looks like this. The app itself is very simple. The kids can draw on the iPads. There's a lot of pens, there's a lot of brushes, there's patterns and stamps, and we just enforce kids to be different. Don't even think about coloring the elephant in gray. And kids will take their own pictures inside the app, and you can print out their work in a normal printer and in it prints out 2 sheets of paper. And with that paper, the kids would start cutting. It takes kids to cut out that pattern for a 5-year-old. Fast kids can do it in 40 minutes. Not so fast kids, it takes them about 3 hours. We've done this so far with 1,200 kids, and not one of them dropped out. And after creating the 3D elephant, we have them come in front of everybody and run a little presentation. That whole cycle makes one lesson. So the scene would be like this. The child would be cutting up his or her own masterpiece. Some schools, we have parents come in to help them. And this is very efficient. Since moms, they're not too sure. They think their kids are playing games in preschool, and they don't want to see that. So we teach them how this curriculum works. And after that, as I mentioned, kids would run a little presentation and receive questions and answer to them. This was the creativity side. Now, how do we use apps to strengthen teamwork? Conventionally, we told kids to be leaders, to be excellent, and if you're not the leader, make sure to follow the leaders. In kids, it's totally different. We tell kids to find your role and just make sure you're committed to the team. This is a little simple lesson we do. There's different levels in this. This is a very simple one. This will be showing in their apps. They form a 4-man team, and we ask them, now what does this rectangle look like? And we ask them to come up with 20 ideas in 1 minute. I'll show you a little video. Okay, they're a 4-person team. I think she's the leader on the upper left side. And the two boys, they're a little fidgety. They don't come up with ideas, but they're trying hard because the girl's mumbling. We have only 20 seconds left with 5 more ideas to come. And the girl on the front right row, she's just clapping. She's a cheerleader. This is what we call 21st century team. As I mentioned, the girl in the circle, she's a genuine leader. She comes up with ideas. She could announce what she's thinking. But these two boys, the reason why they were fidgety, because kids, preschoolers, their memory chip is not that large. So they need to look around to look for rectangles. And the girl in the upper right, yes, she's the cheerleader. And after we collect their ideas, we have them write it down. We have various pens in here. Some even move while they draw. It's a little dark, and we have them come up to the stage and make a little presentation about it. This is what happens at first. We had the teachers write down what the teacher thought that rectangle looked like. The teacher said, oh, I think it looks like a piece of cake. Then the whole classroom, they start drawing cakes. Conventionally, this is okay, but as a 21st century skill, this is too weak. So we keep on pushing kids to be creative, and after the second, third session, this is what they came up with. It's not pretty, but they try to color it different. The center one, the bottom center one, I think that's a house. The bottom left one. Now, do you know what this looks like? We didn't know. Ta-da, she said, she turned it up 90 degrees, and it's a refrigerator. Now, after this, and this is a 5-year-old, after this, the whole classroom started to make ideas this way. And we call her the innovator. And this is what we want kids to learn and feel and be confident about. And I'll give you a little sneak preview of our new curriculum. By the way we make new curriculums, we always talk to school teachers and get their feedback. And the feedback for this one, the new curriculum, is teachers didn't want the kids to stay inside too much. They wanted to bring the kids outside the classroom. So we made a little app about it. It's a little promo deal, but this is our corporate logo. This app is asking kids to find colors. So we pair kids up, and they're looking for colors. They saw this dried persimmon, and this is red for them. She found, I think, brown. They're really happy about it. And after they collect the colors, they bring it back inside the classroom. It's all collected in one app. And the teacher asks, now, where did you get these colors? And just keep on praising them. There's a lot of laughter in the classroom. He looked for white, and I think he took his belly shirt. And he's the star. He's not the class clown. He would be the star. So this is what we kind of came up. And let me run through you about the business side. As I mentioned, kids' education, especially in preschools, in a strong word, they hate IT. They think kids should be playing outside in the dirt and use their fingertips, which is so true. But this curriculum is done just once a month to strengthen their 21st century abilities. At first, we've been running this examination for about 2 years, and finally came up with a concrete product. That was last April. Right now, we have 40+ schools using this curriculum. monthly. Some even use it weekly. But from last month alone, we got 20 new contracts. The reason why? We knew we had to grow fast. So we partnered up with a company called Jakuetsu. They specialize in manufacturing and selling preschool supplies. They have 69 branches, 500 salespersons, and 28,000 contracted preschools, which would be 70% of the whole preschool kindergarten market. They mainly sell, for instance, a huge jungle gym that goes for about 200,000 US, but it's very safe, well designed, and would be a symbol for the preschool to gather kids. So Jakuetsu, they are very close with preschool principals. Also, they sell pens and crayons. They even design schoolwares and also build preschool buildings as well. So they're a big company. And that really boosted our growth right now. With their help, let me share you our targeting figures. As I mentioned, there's 4 million preschools in Japan alone. In 10 years, we hope to contract 1 million of it. And a total, 100 million US would be our targeting annual revenue. And 70% would be profit. That's the business model we are aiming for. So for preschools, there's 3 items they need to purchase. One would be initial sign-up fee per preschool. It's about 4,500 US. Also, we ask for monthly curriculum fees per child, which is about 10 US. And this hasn't been a problem at all so far. Also, we ask for annual renewal fees, 1,200 US. This price range is working very well. We've talked to a lot of principals, and this seems to be an average pricing. So this is one factor that really boosted the sales. Also, the first year cost per school is about 20,000 US. And the reason why it's a little heavy is because preschools need to purchase iPads, at least 25, 27 of them. But the second year on, the running cost would be 8,400 US. So it's not that bad. So right now, there's a good wind on our wings. The government is funding a lot for IT right now in Japan, all of a sudden. So for now, there's 17% increase of funding flowing into preschools. So schools are using that money to purchase tablets. So the tide is on our side right now, and we are making more apps connecting to more preschools. And if any one of you wants to tell me later on the day, if they have a good idea, we would be more than happy to have you join aboard, and we would love to try the Asian market as well. Thank you, that's about it.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. Actually, I was wondering, right, because I noticed your applications are primarily targeting a Japanese audience. Are there any plans to localize to other areas in the Southeast Asia region, for example, Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, etc.? Because, culturally wise, they're a bit different. Language wise, they're a bit different in terms of how the children respond to applications may be different. So I was just wondering if there are any plans in moving into a global market.
Thank you for a good question. We've been dying to go into those areas. We just haven't found the right partners. So if you have any ideas, just holler at me, please.
Well, I actually have a question for you, Shoko.
Okay.
What are some of the barriers and obstacles that you face when you try to sell this product to the preschools?
Okay, another good question. As I mentioned, teachers do not want to bring in ITs into schools. One factor is because they don't want to get any bad reaction from parents. because parents think IT equals gaming. So that's a little, I don't know whether this is universal, but that's what's happening in Japan. And parents and teachers fear that what happens if the child's eyesight goes bad? It really doesn't, but those little problems, that's always an obstacle. Pricing has never been an obstacle. That mentality, that for us IT people, it's common sense that IT would be essential, but not in preschools yet.
So just a follow-on to that response, I'm just curious as to, so how did you, what was your pitch to actually get them to overcome this?
Yes, the biggest pitch was, at first, we wanted preschools to use our curriculums daily. And that really, they hated that idea. So we said, okay, how about once a month? And it can't kill your kids. And also, but it will have a great effect on them, on their future. And that really changed it. Plus, we mentioned that we are not saying no to the conventional education. We're just asking you to add a little something to it. And I think that was the best sales pitch we had so far.
Great. Thank you very much,
Okay.
Shoko. Let's give a big hand to Shoko.
Thank you so much.